Jamie told us that Ozzy died.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as we were leaving. Speaking of which, so if you get a debilitating disease like Parkinson's and it just slowly robs you of your ability to move and your wit and everything, just slowly takes it all away from you.
Just as we were leaving, Jamie told us that Ozzy died. That's what Joe Rogan said, casually dropping a bomb mid-conversation. For a second, everyone froze. Ozzy? Wait, who? The clip went viral immediately. People scrambled to decode it. Was he talking about someone from Australia? An old friend? Another artist? But no, he meant Ozzy. Ozzy Osbourne. The Prince of Darkness himself. And what followed wasn't just a moment of celebrity loss. It was the unraveling of a story that felt scripted by fate. His final bow, a mysterious fall, an unnecessary surgery, and a death that came almost exactly 2 weeks after his last performance.
Dude, he just
performed. Yeah.
It always happens like this. There cannot not be a correlation between hanging up the job and death.
But here's the thing. What happened to Ozzy wasn't just tragic, it was almost prophetic. Let's rewind. Because the real story, it's even crazier than what Joe Rogan said on air. On July 5th, 2025, in Birmingham, England, where Black Sabbath was born, Ozzy stepped onto the stage for what would become his final performance. The event was called Back to the Beginning. It was supposed to be a tribute, a celebration, a one-night-only reunion of metal's gods. Black Sabbath's original lineup, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Judas Priest, Deep Purple, an arena of 45,000 roaring fans. It was broadcast live, millions watched. Ozzy sat on a Gothic throne center stage, immobile yet commanding. He looked frail, worn, but when he opened his mouth and growled out the first verse of War Pigs, the crowd lost it. No one realized what they were watching was the end. Behind the scenes, Ozzy had been in constant pain for years. It wasn't just Parkinson's. That was already bad enough. He'd been diagnosed in 2019. The disease robbed him of his coordination, his ability to tour, his stage presence. But the Parkinson's wasn't the only thing that broke him. That same year, he had a brutal fall in the middle of the night, and that fall re-aggravated an injury from a nearly deadly quad bike crash back in 2003. Back then, the tabloids barely covered it, but Ozzy had been pinned under a 600-pound ATV, unconscious and barely breathing. He broke 8 ribs, crushed a vertebra, and nearly lost his life. They saved him, but the damage never fully healed. Fast forward to 2021, after the new fall, he underwent risky spinal surgery, but later admitted it may have been a mistake, a botched procedure. He said it left him in even more pain, barely able to walk, and almost completely reliant on others to get around. And he wasn't quiet about it. In one of his last interviews, he said, "I was in immense pain. They told me surgery would help, but they were wrong. I didn't need it. It just made everything worse." So while most assumed it was Parkinson's that had him in a chair, it was the agony of that surgery, a choice he may have regretted until the very end. At Back to the Beginning, Ozzy didn't just show up. He planned that set list himself, refused to cancel, demanded he be placed center stage, pain or not. He performed seated, but the emotion in his voice was raw. There was a weird energy in the air that night. People who were there say it felt like a farewell, even though no one wanted to admit it. And then, just 2 weeks later, he was gone. No final statement, no warning, no announcement from the stage, just gone. But one moment at that show caught everyone off guard, and it didn't come from Ozzy. It came from Youngblood. As the lights dimmed mid-set, a lone spotlight hit the stage. No pyrotechnics, no guitar riffs, just a piano. And Youngblood, dressed in all black, sitting down quietly. Then it started. He began singing Changes, Black Sabbath's haunting ballad about loss and transformation. A song Ozzy first recorded in 1972, one that became deeply personal over the years, especially after his separation from Sharon and battles with addiction. But that night, Youngblood didn't just cover the song, he channeled it. His voice cracked during the final chorus. Fans in the crowd were visibly crying. Even some of the crew backstage said they had chills watching it happen live. It wasn't just a tribute, it felt like a passing of the torch. Young, emotional, raw, Youngblood brought a fresh vulnerability to the track that reminded people exactly why changes mattered in the first place. After the song ended, he didn't say a word. He stood up, bowed his head toward Ozzy's throne across the stage, and walked off without looking back. It was one of the most emotional moments of the entire show, and fans online still talk about it as the spiritual climax of the night. Because when a new generation honors the legends with that much heart, it means the legacy isn't dying, it's evolving. Of all the tributes that night, there was one that felt less like a performance and more like a eulogy set to music.
But that night, Youngblood didn't just cover the song, he channeled it. His voice cracked during the final chorus. Fans in the crowd were visibly crying. Even some of the crew backstage said they had chills watching it happen live. It wasn't just a tribute, it felt like a passing of the torch. Young, emotional, raw, Youngblood brought a fresh vulnerability to the track that reminded people exactly why changes mattered in the first place. After the song ended, he didn't say a word. He stood up, bowed his head toward Ozzy's throne across the stage, and walked off without looking back. It was one of the most emotional moments of the entire show, and fans online still talk about it as the spiritual climax of the night. Because when a new generation honors the legends with that much heart, it means the legacy isn't dying, it's evolving. Of all the tributes that night, there was one that felt less like a performance and more like a eulogy set to music. But what came next in his message? That's what shook fans around the world. But as it is written, with legends, they seem to know things that we don't. I will never forget you. You will be in every single note I sing, and with me every single time I walk on stage. And then he said something that stopped people cold. Your cross around my neck is the most precious thing I own. You asked me once if there was anything you could do for me, and as I said then, and as I will say now for all of us, the music was enough. That wasn't just gratitude. That was a young artist recognizing that he stood on the shoulders of a giant. Youngblood never asked for fame or favors or clout. He just wanted to say thank you to a man who paved the way for misfits, outcasts, and every kid who ever screamed their pain into a mic. And now, every time Youngblood walks on stage, Ozzy walks with him. Not in the shadows, not in memory, but in every single note. Youngblood's tribute wasn't just emotional, it was symbolic. Because Ozzy didn't just influence music, he infected it. For 5 decades, he showed the world that you could be broken, misunderstood, messy, and still be legendary. He wasn't polished, he wasn't perfect, he didn't pretend to be. And for a new generation of artists growing up in a world obsessed with filters and image, Ozzy was a reminder that realness still matters.
Artists like Billie Eilish, Post Malone, Machine Gun Kelly, and Lil Uzi Vert have all named Ozzy as one of the few icons who truly inspired them. Not because of his charts, but because of his chaos, his honesty, his willingness to bleed in public.
He made it okay to be loud, to scream, to fall apart, to come back again. And for young musicians trying to carve out their identity in a world that wants to box them in, Ozzy wasn't just a hero. He was proof that survival is possible, that pain can become power, that weird can become worshipped, and that the music you make in your darkest moments can light the way for someone else. On July 22nd, 2025, news broke. Ozzy Osbourne had died. He was 76 years old. The official statement from the family was brief. Ozzy passed peacefully, surrounded by loved ones after a long struggle with illness. The cause of death wasn't immediately revealed, but people close to him said the final months were brutal. He could no longer perform basic tasks, the pain was unrelenting, the Parkinson's was progressing fast. And here's what made it worse. Just days before his passing, AI-generated death hoaxes started spreading online, rumors that he'd already died. Fake posts, deepfakes, and weird tributes flooded social media. His daughter, Kelly Osbourne, called it disgusting. She slammed the fake stories, saying Ozzy was still with them and fighting. But within a week, the hoax became reality. The world reacted instantly. From Birmingham to LA, fans lit candles on sidewalks. They blasted Iron Man from car stereos. Rock stations played nothing but Sabbath for 48 hours straight.
It's bad,
On the Black Sabbath Bridge in Birmingham, thousands gathered, flowers piled waist high. Someone spray-painted "No More Tears" across the bricks in blood-red paint. Elton John, Brian May, Travis Barker, even Adam Sandler, yes, Sandler, posted tearful tributes. And Sharon Osbourne, she broke her silence with a single sentence. He gave everything to the music, and it took everything from him. Before he died, Ozzy left behind one last song, a symphonic metal track called Gods of Rock and Roll. It was released just 5 months before his death. He called it his last roar. The music video showed black and white clips of his entire life. The wild parties, the shows, the collapse, the rise again, the slow fade into stillness. Fans now believe he knew. He knew that show in July would be his final moment on stage. He knew the pain was winning. and he knew the end was close.
That now viral clip of Joe Rogan fumbling the name, it feels almost symbolic. A moment of confusion, a name misheard, a slip of the tongue that launched 1,000 theories. But what he really said, what he meant, was the truth no one wanted to face. If you like this video, then please subscribe to What's News for more videos.